Okay, so these would be the best tactics of the year. These would be the ultimate rank one sweat tryhard tactics. Apologies, I didn't release it yesterday. I want to test a few things out before I finalize these. I talked about this for some time and I gave you a sneak peek a few weeks back, but we made some changes adjusted for the patch. So let's get straight into it. I'm going to give you all the codes as usual and everything. Do you want to increase your win rate just before team of the season? We got the Division 10 to Elite Division series. All the videos are finally uploaded. We show you how to get from Division 10 to the Elite Division basic gameplay. No speed boosting, no mechanic abusing, no Trivella at all, because we want you to get there just with basic gameplay to show you don't need to mechanic abuse. If you want a mechanic abuse, that's fine. We want to show you how to play properly first and then show you what the pros do. What pros do is they used basic gameplay and then they mechanic abuse to get the top 10%. Not the other way around. They don't mechanic abuse first and then learn the basics. We go over complete in-depth tutorials. And don't forget, with my entire series, if you join now during team of the season, remember, if you don't get better after 1 month, we will refund your money. That is the nil guys guarantee. That is how sure we are. We've been running this for 4 or 5 years. We go over in-depth tutorials. We also go over pro gameplay analysis where we analyze the full professional player's game. We got tutorials for everything, undefendable through balls, player locks, precision passing, precision shooting, everything that you could think of that goes beyond my YouTube channel. We've got the full defensive series, which defending series alone, just by watching that, I can guarantee you will improve. Patreon.com/NilGuys. Links down below in the description. If you don't get better after 1 month, just send a message on Discord or send a message through Patreon and I'll refund your money. That's a Nil Guys guarantee. Don't believe me? Try it out. What have we got to lose? Less than the price of a KFC meal nowadays. Links down below in the description. All right, so the first tactic, we got a 4-3-3 defend. I just want to make this very clear. This is purely a formation to close the game out. This is like if I'm winning 2-3-0. It's the last 20 minutes of the game and I want to close up shop. This is my phalanx formation. This is the formation this is the hold the line formation. This is we're defending the keep and we're holding it to the very last second. Give you a bit of an insight. The only thing we've changed recently is I put a winger on one of my wingers. I actually like it. I like that play to be a bit more high and wide. And I have like a different outlet. So normally the side that I don't really necessarily attack down the most, which is the right side. Actually, for me, I attack down the left side more often. I don't know why. But I like to dribble a lot with the right-hand side. So I use this kind of like an exit strategy. So inside forward Sun, winger plus on Cherky. I was just trying it because you never had the inside forward normal and I actually very much liked it. Advanced forward for the striker. Look, you can, if you want to, definitely go with a false line build-up play. But for me, when I'm attacking, I still want to be able to score a goal with this formation. This is not a form. It's people don't understand. This is not a formation where like, oh my God, this is ultra defensive. It's the same as a 4-2-1-3. Have a look. It's the exact same formation, the exact same position. The only difference is one's a cam, the other one's a centre mid. One's a cam, one's a centre mid. And the benefit of that is it allows you to put this centre mid as centre mid defend. So actually speaking, generally speaking, this is basically a 4-2-1-3 with just a centre mid instead of a cam. That is basically the way you gotta look at it. Don't look at it as a 4-3-3. Look at it as 4-2-1-3. Both CDMs are holding. I personally like holding more than deep line playmaker, but you're probably right. Deep line playmaker defend is much better, I would say, from a defensive standpoint, but I like holding CDM. Again, as I said, at this point, you should be adjusting it for your own style. Left back, right back is both of them on full back defend. Again, this is, okay, we're going to win side the game. We're winning, but we need to close out. We also got this winger, and the reason why I like it is they stay high and wide, so I got like an outlet exit strategy with Cherky as well. So that's the reason we have that. 50 depth, I normally go with 45. So when you copy the code, you see some of the code that doesn't copy. 45 is kind of what I would go with 95% of the time. 45, 50, same thing. The main thing is the build-up style counter. And if you're asking for the code, that will be the code. I'm going to read it out for you. So if you're doing this while you're watching the video, it's 6 Foxtrot, capital Sierra, capital Zulu, Delta, capital Sierra, percentage sign, capital Alpha, capital Echo 2 Alpha. You can, of course, rewind that or you can slow that down. Now, then we go over to the balance system. This is the one to start the game with, okay? Start the game with. Now, this one I still use 50, 45. Any of those variances are fine. This is basically a 4-2-1-3 with a cam being slightly more attacking. So do you understand why these are try-hard tactics? Because this is basically using the best formation in the game, but creating different systems for them. Do you understand? Okay. So we have the 4-2-1-3. This is a fairly neutral 4-2-1-3. This is what you would see the masses use. You'll see almost all pro players, every single top tier player, and every single casual player that knows what they're doing in the league division. They'll be using some variation of this system. I explained this in yesterday's video already, on why the inside forward balanced. I do have Playmaker. I do prefer the Shadow Striker. I mentioned this before. Shadow Striker is better. However, this is my conservative 4-2-1-3. This is the one that I start the game with, the one that I'm going into the game straight away. This is the formation I'm choosing. I've got both my fullbacks in defense. I don't want to concede in the first minute. I don't want to concede in the first 5 minutes. I don't want to take unnecessary risk. I want to see how my opponent is, see how they're kind of trotting their feet around my box. Are they doing Travellas? Can I commit my right back going forward? These are all the small things I test in the first 5-10 minutes or so. Maybe I don't subconsciously talk about it. Maybe I don't talk about it, but subconsciously I do it. And I think, if I go out my right back here, does this player follow with their winger, or do they run out with their left back or right back? That is the way I determine and judge how a player is. Even better, top tier player would be using some deception. But deep line playmaker for both the CDMs. So again, this would be the most neutral 4-2-1-3. I'm still using counter for everything. Again, this is the one that I start the game with, okay? Now we go over to the balance 2, okay? So this is more of the 4-2-1-3. Look at the differences. The differences is only a few specific things. The defensive approach is high. We're going to talk about the post-patch depth in a second. And you can look at the cam. A few players play different positions. We've got Appin and Cam. That's it. That's the only difference, Appin and Cam. And we have one the CDMs on holding. And then we have for both the fullbacks, we have them on balanced instead. Feel free to change this as you want to. You may, for example, decide to put both of these players on wingbacks because you want to make it more attacking. You may, for example, leave your cam on playmaker. This is what you need to make this adjustment. As I always say to you, it's like you driving your car with your brother or your missus. You might be 6 foot, your missus might be 5'1". You're going to have a different seat position compared to your missus. That's just normal because everyone is different. Everyone has different leg lengths. Same way people have played the game differently. Some people's going to be better than another person. When I'm making this video, you have to understand I'm speaking to someone who's a pro player, rank 1 player, but I also have to speak to someone in rank 5, division 3, division 4. I have to speak for all audiences. Remember that people just think that the video is just directed at you. I have to speak to the world. So this should be a more attacking variation of your balanced 4-2-1-3. So if that's just you putting a shadow striker in this one, then that would be it. But for me, what it is I automatically go for a depth of 70. As I said to you, I don't really start the game with 95. This patch never really affected me that much. I do see myself using team press a bit more. And that's why you could argue sometimes I stay on this formation actually. And sometimes if I'm actually 1-0 down, I still stay in this formation. I may use team press as and when I need it. That's something I'm just changing in my game style. So I'm not changing formations as much, but I'm using more of the team press. So when I'm going to this tactic here, I'm just trying to make my players more attacking. Same thing here, same structure. We just have a shadow striker as opposed to a cam that's on a playmaker. We've got no build up, no nothing, that nonsense. Shadow striker. I want this player to be sitting a bit higher. I personally put one of my players CDMs on holding. That way I still got one player a bit safer. And I got my Bick with 99 shooting. He's a bit more forward. I can pass the ball to him. And also if my opponent's pressing me, then I'm going to have at least a little bit of a kind of like a slanted approach. This way I could try to play a through ball in behind, push front that player. And I got some gap and reason to maneuver as opposed to 2 players standing in line. I kind of got one off center. I actually really like that. I've been doing that for some time. As you probably remember, that's what I've been talking about. And that's why I do it like this. For fullbacks, I've got both of them on balanced as opposed to defend. I feel very comfortable with defending. If anyone's watching this and you're below rank 3, you might have to reconsider what you put your fullbacks on. But I'm very comfortable. And with balance, I'm going to be honest, they don't really go forward because look, as long as you're not doing anything crazy and running out with your center back or your fullbacks, like if you're doing silly mistakes like that, God can give you a tactic specifically made for you, and nothing's going to help you then. So you have to be very mindful. That's why I don't put wing backs on them. I've got both the CDMs like this, shadow striker, and then inside forward, and then the depth I use high. So this is normally what I'll start the game with. Let's say, for example, I can't break down my opponent or I'm struggling, then normally I would go to this one. So for the one to start the game with is Oscar hashtag Charlie Hotel. Sorry, Oscar hashtag capital Charlie, capital Hotel, capital Delta, Niner, capital November, uniform Yankee Kilo hashtag. That's not changed from the one that I used a few weeks ago. Then for the more attacking approach, which you should be realistically doing yourself, you should just be duplicating this and making it more attacking. But Papa hashtag capital Delta hashtag capital Echo capital Alpha capital November Whiskey Zulu Mike capital November. But again, you should be doing this yourself. Just duplicate this tactic, give a second one, and make the changes. It's much easier entering the code. Honestly, entering the code just takes such a long time. It's honestly a waste of time. I don't even know why people find this quicker. So then we go over to the 4-4-1-1. Now, this is important to understand. This formation I start the game with a lot of the time. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this now is because people, they just skip the video. This formation will skill on your level. If you're any from rank, maybe even 4 to rank 1, this is a formation that will scale with your level. Yes, you have no CDMs, so it's not as safe as these formations. So I won't necessarily start the game with a 4-4-1-1 unless you have that ability. If you watch all the top tier players, you watch all the professional players, go on twitch.tv, go watch anyone. If you're playing a 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1, it's because they know how to defend. That's how they go into those games. You got to be careful. You're sitting here watching this and you're a rank 4, rank 5 player, even a rank 3 player. You got to be careful going in and just being like, you know what, let me just go straight for a 4-4-1-1. So obviously bear that in mind. This is basically a 4-2-1-3 with center mids. Now, why do I want center mids? They're more involved in the attacks. If I want them to be more attacking, they're both on box-to-box balance. They're both going to make way into the box and be very attacking, of course, at the cost of being defensive. Another thing that I do like is they sit higher, so it's easier for me to press. One of the biggest caveats that no one really talks about, although this is the ultimate formation, is that you have CDMs. Unless you're a very good manual presser, again, that's the caveat, unless you're a very good manual presser, it's very hard to press with this formation, especially in the midfield. You can press with your front 4, that's fine, but pressing the midfield, your CDMs are almost too far away. And equally, when you're attacking, when you get the ball, you find that your center mid sometimes are much closer, with your CDM sometimes a bit too far away when you rotate the ball. So this is what I use. I would recommend playmaker here, but I use shadow striker, left mid, right mid, inside forward, both center mids on box to box, left back, right back on 4-back balanced. But of course you can use defend if you want to. And sometimes I do change to poacher when I feel like I'm kind of using a bit more advanced forward, but I do like poacher as well. It just kind of depends on how I want to play. If I'm going a bit try-hardy, I kind of go poacher, to be honest. Otherwise, advanced forward is more of like I can just just chill and enjoy the game for what it is. Not like I want to be some professional player and like £1,000 a month. So there's no sweat about that. The depth, very, very important. You want to combine at least a high depth. Yes, it's understandable to use something like 50, but I think for this formation to really prosper, 60 and 70 is what I would use. And I occasionally activate team press when and where I need it. So this is the code for this one. It's %, capital Alpha, November, capital Charlie, 8, Sierra, capital Sierra, sorry, 2, capital Victor, capital Yankee, Bravo, Yankee. This is the exact same 4-4-1-1 that I released a few weeks back. And I'm using this a bit more now post-patch because I feel like with people not using aggressive depth, the lower tier plays that got away with just spamming high depth without actually knowing what it was, they're the ones that cause me the most problems. But since that's been nerfed, I can afford to be a bit more aggressive. So I'll be honest, I'm leaning a lot more towards this formation. So just to give a bit of recap, 1 to close the game out, holding a keep, got 1 to start the game with. I need to become a slightly more attacking. I'll change to this one, put my camo shadow striker, That way, if my opponent's got two CDMs, let's say they're playing a 4-2-1-3, and let's say they're good enough to defend in a 4-2-1-3, because I can play this for most of the weekend league, and I can probably still win most of my games. But let's say I'm playing against someone who's very competent with their CDMs and not pushing out of position, and needs one other player to be up there, then I would change to the Shadow Striker. So that's the way that I use this formation. And then otherwise, I would change to this one where I've got the Shadow Striker and I've got the two center mids, and I can kind of start pressing. This is more if I'm losing 1-0, drawing, but I really can't get through with this formation, or maybe I'm losing 2-0. I'm not going gung ho. I never go gung ho. This game, you can cut. I've had games honestly where it's like 5-5 before halftime, honestly, in this game. So it's like the olden days where you can see the goal, you got to change. So just do bear that in mind. Then we go over to the pressing formation. Now, this is purely my formation to win the ball back. Now, ideally, what I do now is I lean more towards a 4-2-4. So I am leaning more towards 4-2-4. So you're going to see me do more and more of this. So I am just personally preferring 4-2-4s a lot more, but I said much more attacking. This is where I use aggressive, because this is my formation to press the ball. I need to get the ball back. I'm using 95. However, this is what I'm using, but what I would suggest, maybe it's worth using something like 90. So we're not going into the aggressive territory, but we're going into the highest possible high, and then, which is 90, and then we're using the D-pad tactic, team press. So what you could do is you could have this formation also as a formation to make the 4-4-1-1 more attacking by having two strikers as opposed to a cam. This is basically a 4-2-1-3, but exact same system, except for we have two strikers as opposed to just one and a cam behind. So what I'd recommend is do something like this, and then I would say you can go with 90 and use team press. But I just use it purely as an aggressive formation. 4-4-2, that's the way that I like playing it. This is more my comeback formation. I'll be honest, sometimes this year, because I don't mechanic abuse and I don't do first time through balls and stuff, I do sometimes struggle with a build up playing a 4-4-2, which is why I like the 4-4-1-1 a bit more, but I like them equally as well. I normally go to a two striker setup if I'm struggling to concede. So that is struggling to get a goal, should I say. But that's one thing that I would say with consideration. So maybe it's worth using 90 here, the highest possible depth, and then just using team press. If you are losing 2-0, you can always just pause the game, literally go to your pressing tactic, and then just add your 95 depth like so. So that's the only change that I'm probably going to be making, because I do find that if I go 2-0 down, sometimes I'm a bit reactive and go a bit like at 70 minutes. I don't want my stamina to get killed, especially if the game goes to extra time. Premier League team in the season, a lot of try hard. Sometimes those games go to extra time. Same thing here as we mentioned. The only difference is that I have one of my players on poacher and advanced forward. I always say in two striker systems, I want one of these players on a poacher, one on advanced forward. But you, personally speaking, may prefer both advanced forward, but I like one on poacher. Both box to box. I'd recommend both inside forward for both the left wing and the right wing. But as I mentioned, for my defensive formation, just for a bit of a different system, I put one of these players on a winger. And also because Cherky doesn't have the plus, that's the reason why I use the winger for this team. But I actually liking it more and more, having like one that's a bit different. So I like a different approach. Got a box to box, and I put the plus on this side. We've got Rabiot box to box and Bic. Rabiot normally comes off at this time, doesn't really start the game. I only bring on the other player, the Libertadores player. We've got a 96 sprint speed, incisive pass, stuff like that. Fullbacks on balanced. And if you're wondering, my code, although you should change your right wing there if you're asking me, personally speaking, it's Oscar, capital Mike, capital Alpha, November, capital X-ray, Victor 4, Victor Yankee, $, capital Mike. So this would be my try-hard tactics. I'll be probably using something very, very similar to Ultimate Team in a season. Although there's no patches until then, maybe the way people play may change. And I'm thinking of maybe getting rid of the winger on the right-hand side. I'm not too sure, but it's working well for me now. But we'll see when Ultimate Tots comes out. But it's what I'm going to be using throughout all of Tots as a try-hard formation. And guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Listen, If you want to get better at FC, join my join my Patreon series during Team of the Season. Just watching my defending series alone, I promise you, will push you a rank in a weekend league, or at least give you 1 or 2 extra wins. I can guarantee you that. If you don't get better after 1 month, we will refund your money. That's it. Forget that. They have to watch, even though we've got hundreds of videos, just watching my 15 defending videos, whatever it is, will change your defending for sure. Don't believe me? Try it 1 month. Mess me if you don't get better after 1 month. We will refund your money. We've got build up play, attacking, how to press, whatever you want. Anyways, links down below in the description. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out. Best of luck in your weekend league, guys. And don't forget, it's till Wednesday. Don't rush.